Check, check, microphone check. What's going on, Israel? About to get up on the stage right now. Start this lesson. Okay. Let me just get situated. How y'all doing tonight? It's Wednesday. Once again, all praises, another Wednesday to make to teach a lesson on world history in the Bible. We're continuing the book of Judges, chapters 10 through 15, and maybe a little bit after that so we can get the full context of what we're reading, more or less. So let me get there with y'all. We can start going through that. Should be a brief going through. So we're going to see right now. Okay, so we last left off in the world history lesson with Judges with a man named Abimelech, who was, some would say, technically the first king over all Israel, but really he was just king over his particular region and city. But, you know, the people elected him there as king. But that was about 2 weeks ago from today where we actually went over that. So now we're continuing. With the book of Judges and the history of that from chapter 10. So right immediately after that, seeing how this is the book of Judges, another judge arises. His name is Taulah, and that's in 10:1. I'll read that for you guys. And after Abimelech, there arose to defend Israel Taulah, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Issachar, and he dwelt in Shamir and Mount Ephraim. So this is another Israelite from a completely different lineage, a different tribe that's now going to be made the judge of Israel that the Most High has chosen. Not too much is, going in about him, because immediately, verse 2, and he judged Israel 23 years and died and was buried in Shamir. So he had a good 20-year tenure of judging Israel. Next, verse 3, a man named Jair. So very similar. All, at least in the beginning, top half of this chapter in the book of Judges, you get like 2 or 3 judges that are spoken of, not in detail, but is expected and assumed to be done well as far as their judging. So all the way from Taulah to Jair, actually that's about it. Because in verse 6, we see what happened in the process of time. Verse 6 in Judges 10. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, Yahweh, and served Baalim and Asheroth and the gods of Syria and the gods of Zidon and the gods of Moab and the gods of the children of Ammon and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord, Yahweh, and served him not. So, man, that'd be the main issue in our past back then, is serving these other gods, and all the customs and the witchcraft and the lesser powers that are affiliated and associated with them, because, again, our people want to follow the lust of their eyes and the flesh and the pride of life. It's like a quick ticket, signing a deal with the devil. That's what it is with Israel and people in general in the world that follow these false deities and these demons and whatever else you may want to label them as, but real thing, but not real power when it comes to the Most High Yahweh. So when we do that, the Most High gets mad, verse 7, and the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them, just as he said in all the curses, Deuteronomy 28, he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and to the hands of the children of Ammon. Everyone you could imagine that their gods that they was worshiping with. So again, this is a pattern that we've been familiar with throughout the book of Judges. It's continuing again. I'm going to jump down to verse 10, because this is important. This is important as far as understanding the nature of our God, Yahweh, and then the nature of us as well, too, on the pitiful side, and then there's just the great, outright disrespectful side of that, all of that. Verse 10, and the children of Israel cried unto the Yahweh, saying, we have sinned against thee, both because we have forsaken our God, you, and served Baalim, as well as many others. And Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, did I not deliver you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, and the children of Ammon, and the Philistines, all these other nations with their respective powers and gods that they serve? He's like, didn't I keep you from them? Didn't I protect you from them? Did I take you out the midst of them? I did those things. And yet, you're going literally right back to, imagine that. If you're not even imagining like the people, like imagine the seriousness that the Most High has when we blatantly go to other gods. The first commandment, excuse me. No, yeah, the first commandment literally says you should have no other God before me. We know this is something, different level tier systems of powers on this earth, that the Most High has set, including darkness and fallen things as well too. But the Most High gave us that instruction in the commandments and the covenant saying, look, ignore that. This is the part of the world that is messed up, that is doomed and destined to be removed and to be burned up forever in the lake of fire when Christ becomes revealed. But until then, stay away from that. Keep your eyes on me. But the children of Israel, our people, could not resist, amongst mingling with the nations around us, and even just, in their own territories and everything that they was on. We just could not get enough of it. So the Most High is like letting us know that. Verse 12, and the Zidonians also, and the Amalekites, and the Maonites did oppress you, and ye cried unto me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet you have forsaken me and served other gods many and multiple times. Wherefore I will deliver you no more. Go and cry unto the gods which you have chosen, and let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. And we all know that between the other nations and these other false deities, nobody likes the chosen children of the Most High God Yahweh. They're always going to be oppressed under any circumstance, in the flesh or in the spirit. We're not favored without the Most High's protection over us by anything in this earth, in this world. We need the Most High because he chose us and wants to use us to commit his will upon the earth. But other than him, Yahweh, there's no favor for us as a people, especially because of the covenant that we're in. Everybody and every other thing and entity hates the Creator. So how much more to put us, the image of him in captivity? It's a no-brainer. But our forefathers and us today still don't get that. And the children of Israel said unto the Lord, we have sinned. Do thou unto us whatsoever seemeth good unto thee. Deliver us only, we pray thee, this day. And they put away the strange gods from among them and served Yahweh, and his soul was grieved for the misery of Israel. So the Most High, again, one of the natures and characters is like if you're seriously broken and contrite in your heart and you break up your fallow ground, he'll come back. He'll come back. He's probably going to do a good amount of trimming, and destroying our people, but then the remnant that's always left over, because he already promised in one of the prophets saying that, like, unless you can destroy, the seed of Israel, then I'll destroy like the stars in heaven, something to that matter. I can't remember the exact prophet's words, but the Most High is basically saying, I'm never going to get rid of y'all. I'm going to trim you up, but I'm never going to forsake the people I've chosen because of the amazing faithfulness that Abraham had and the promise that the Most High gave to him for his descendants, which we are. It's just that his descendants, us, don't, again, completely, fully understand that or just reject it outright. So, continuing on, that's a main focal point that happens in this book. Save us or disobey you, cry about it for enough time, and the Most High, will eventually save us once that ground in our hearts is broken up. So that was it. Now, in chapter 11, we have another savior, a judge coming onto the scene by the name of Jephthah. So I'll intro with that. Judges 11:1. Now Jephthah Yeah, oh, actually, let me preface that to understand why Jephthah got even called. Because regional stuff like that, tribes, and even specific nations, is all important to understanding the holistic picture and just, the movie that is the history of our people. I'm gonna start at verse 17 in chapter 10 previously. Then the children of Ammon were gathered together and encamped in Gilead. And the children of Israel assembled themselves together and encamped in Mizpah. And the people and the princes of Gilead said one to another, "What man is he that will begin to fight against the children of Ammon? He shall be head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." So this is the setup. This is the setup for Jephthah to come into the scene, who is going to be the judge. Because again, Israel just sinned. We just cried out. And it just so happened to be at this time, we were under Ammonite and I believe Ammonite captivity, and the god associated with Ammon, which is Moloch, actually. That's what we was the world we was under. So now chapter 11. Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of an harlot. Oof. And Gilead beget Jephthah. So his father, Gilead, founder of that city, and the man himself, this particular man, Jephthah, he's a kid basically born out of wedlock. So this is important because this is why what happened to him happened. And verse 2. And Gilead's wife bare him sons. So again, difference. Gilead had a wife with kids, but he also had a harlot who, went on her merry way doing her harlotry anywhere else. But she had a kid too, which was Jephthah. So you got wife and baby mama, essentially. And Gilead's wife bare him sons, and his wife's sons grew up. And they thrust out Jephthah and said unto him, "Thou shalt not inherit our father's house, for thou art the son of a strange woman." So this is important, man, seeing how the culture of our people were. We were pretty harsh on each other, despite the fact that we was messing up so much in our own regards. But we always as a people, even to this day, are a little bit harsh on each other, especially in the world. Still, even in the faith, we still ironing stuff out and trying to speak to each other properly and stuff like that. But that's what his brothers of the honorable woman, the wife, told Jephthah. It's like, "Hey, you a hoes kid. You can't have no part with us. Like it's not working out," despite the fact that his bloodline still belonged to Gilead regardless. But that's just how our people thought. It was a shameful thing. It was a shameful thing for Jephthah to be born in that sense. Verse 3, then Jephthah fled away from his brethren, rejected, and dwelt in the land of Tob. And there were gathered vain men to Jephthah and went out with him. And that's interesting to point out, too. It's important to point out because the Most High said it, too. If you don't have a stable household, like a righteous marriage, man and woman, husband and wife, that teaches their kids correctly. If you don't have that, normally the Most High said, generally speaking, I'm going to forget those kids. The bastards, pretty much. The Most High said, those kids, they're not going to prosper. That's in the book of Sirach, actually, somewhere you could read that. But generally speaking, kids born out of wedlock, fornication, they don't grow up to be the best type of individuals. They don't have the best influence. They don't have the stability in the household. I mean, for one, you see that just as a curse alone with our people. I'm going to get it to you guys right now, too. Living in, anywhere we're at in the world. But one of the curses, typical in ghetto cultures in the hoods and stuff like that, in the projects, is that broken family and those broken homes and the curses that fall along with that. And I'm going to get that to you guys real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. 28 and verse 41. I'm going to read this and a couple other too. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. That's one thing in particular specific. Let me find some more about the kids being forsaken as well too. Smite thee right there. I'm going to read this one for you guys. Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and feel longing for them all the day long. There shall be no might in thine hand. You know, just basically explaining, you know, the separation, that broken family union. There's no spiritual stability in that. So the kids, as well as, you know, the parents in their own respects, become messed up in the head. So all that being said, you know, concerning not Gilead, with Jephthah, him being a part of a broken family situation, that's why it says when he took vain peoples unto him, they weren't righteous people. They were just, you know, basic people that kind of just listen and follow through and probably could be easily bought over. So that plays into, again, the flawed nature, even though chosen as a judge, that we're going to read about, of Jephthah. So I wanted to just point that out too. So verse 3 in chapter 11. Then Jephthah fled from his brethren and dwelt in the land of Tob, and there were gathered vain men to Jephthah and went out with him. Verse 4, and it came to pass in the process of time that the children of Ammon made war against Israel. Because remember, that's what we was trying to get away from with that captivity when we finally cried out to the Most High, was Ammon and its customs and its God. And it was so that the children of Ammon made war against Israel. The elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. So, man, they was definitely keeping receipts on this dude Jephthah. They knew, you know, that he basically became a pretty prominent man, despite the vain fellows that was with him. But his name became known. He had followers. He had people that liked him, or that served him, rather. So the elders of Gilead are now coming to him, saying, and Jephthah said with the elders of Gilead, no, verse up. And it was so, when the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said unto Jephthah, come and be our captain, that we may fight with the children of Ammon. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, did ye not hate me and expel me out of my father's house? And why are ye come unto me now when ye are in distress? Because think about it. Obviously, if Jephthah is somewhere completely else where he's not getting banged on by the Ammonites, in war, Gilead in I believe is in between Manasseh and Ephraim. Gilead probably had, forces that was cut down. There were no heads, there were no captains. Troops was probably really low too. But then here we have a connection, a bloodline tie to Gilead, the man in the city he founded, his son, his illegitimate son rather, Jephthah, and the people and the army that he's accumulated over a process of a time. So now Jephthah is kind of like, okay, y'all bad. That's your bad, for doing in his feelings type ish. Like that's y'all bad, for where you at? The war is with y'all, not with me. So this is the elders pleading to him, being like, man, you are people, come back, come back. Jephthah's like, yeah, it wasn't like that 20 years ago when y'all called me the son of a harlot. What y'all got for me? And this is how he's negotiating, because he is going to negotiate basically his leadership. Verse 6, and they said unto Jephthah, come and be our captain, that we may fight with the children of Ammon. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, did ye not hate me and expel me out of my father's house? And why are ye come unto me now when ye are distressed? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, therefore we turn again to thee now, that thou mayest go with us and fight against the children of Ammon. Man, you are blood, bro. Like at the end of the day, it's family, man. It's all family. Forget about the messed up stuff that we did. It's about family, man. Are not our people like that? Even in the world, trying to take us out of the faith that we're in. You know, that whole blood is thicker than water. Well, no, the water of baptism or repentance is actually much thicker than than family blood. But this is an example in our history of that in our people. That's, you know, this is us. You know, this is us with that. Therefore we turn again unto thee and fight against the children of Ammon and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. Ooh, nice offer. Verse 9, and Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, if ye bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and the Lord deliver them before me, shall I be your head? So he's making it become sure, like, okay, y'all need me, and y'all say this, but if I come and do this, am I going to be the permanent? Like, I'm going to be the top guy? Like, y'all going to leave me as the head? We family, right? And this is the response. And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, Yahweh be witness between us if we do not so according to your words. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. So the agreement is made. So now Jephthah is like, all right, cool. I'm gonna handle these Ammonites. So now he's about to give this big speech, you know, formal speech, political speech, no different than like how can I say, like a warning speech, like I guess maybe what that America did to like Iran back in 2001 before they invaded for like nuclear weapons or whatever the deal was, you know. But a formal treaty and treatment basically is about to happen with Jephthah, and this is how it goes down. So Jephthah sent messengers, verse 12, unto the children of Ammon, saying, what hast thou to do with me that thou art come against me to fight in my land? And the response to the king of the children of Ammon answered unto the messenger of Jephthah, because Israel took away my land when they came up out of Egypt from Arnon, even unto Jabbok and unto Jordan, now therefore restore those lands again peaceably. So this is their argument, like, hey, you took some of our territory that was allotted to us by our God, that your God sanctioned as well too. We want that back. But as we're going to come to find out, Jephthah is not no dummy. Jephthah knows the history of what Moses and Joshua did to allot lands as we was leaving from Egypt and conquering these things. He basically is going to let them know, yeah, the part that you're tripping about, that piece of land, you actually never owned that. And he's about to explain this right now too. So verse 15, Jephthah, and he said unto him, thus saith Jephthah, Israel took not away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Israel. But when Israel came up from Egypt and walked through the wilderness, all the book of Numbers, unto the Red Sea, and came to Kadesh, then Israel sent messengers unto the king of Edom, saying, let me, I pray thee, pass through thy land. But the king of Edom would not hearken unto us. And in like manner they sent unto the king of Moab, but he would not consent. And Israel abode in Kadesh. And they went along through the wilderness and compassed the land of Edom, the land of Moab, and came to the east side of the land of Moab, and pitched on the other side of Arnon, but came not within the border of Moab, for Arnon was the border of Moab. So now Jephthah, he's getting specific. Like, look, this is where we were at, and this is what you're claiming that you have, but again, ultimately, it was never what you're tripping over is never belonged to you. Because of the people that we got conquered there, you're going to find out right now. Verse 19, this is basically what it is. And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, the king of Heshbon. And Israel said unto him, let us pass, we pray thee, through thy land into my place. But Sihon, the Amorite king, trusted not Israel to pass through his coast. But Sihon instead gathered all his people together and pitched in Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Yahweh of Israel delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, completely wiped out. Man, women, children, they all got put out. And they smote them. So Israel possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country. And they possessed all the coast of the Amorites from Arnon even to Jabbok. Again, Jabbok, that's the main issue that the Ammonites is bringing up to attention to Jephthah and Gilead. Like, hey, we want Jabbok, we want this territory back. But again, Jephthah's telling him, we've been on this. Like, this was never yours in the first place. Verse 22. And they possess all the coast of the Amorites from Arnon even to Jabbok, and from the wilderness even unto Jordan. So now the Lord God of Israel have dispossessed the Amorites from before his people Israel. And shouldest thou possess it? That's key point. He's like, look, this land that you're complaining about, this belonged to the Amorites. It was never yours. So the Most High made us kill the Amorites, and we took that, and all of a sudden now you think that you can have that land because at one point in time, I guess the Amorites was, no, not even the Amorites. Y'all had some dealings with the Amorites. So again, the territory was never within the will of the Most High for Ammon. Verse 24, wilt not thou possess that which Chemosh, so one of their gods, false, lesser gods, wilt thou not possess that which Chemosh thy God giveth to thee to possess? So whomsoever the Lord our God shall drive out from before us, them will we possess. So now basically saying like, look, whatever you had your land allotment by your God, our God gave us our land allotment, and now y'all being greedy. So we're not gonna just let you come in and make war with us peaceably. I mean, war is never peaceably, but we're not gonna let y'all come and do this. We're about to fight back against you guys. You could either back down or, fist up. Verse 25, and now thou art better than anything than Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab. Did he ever strive against Israel, or did he ever fight against them? So basically, this whole conversation is going down, and again, Jephthah's making it pretty clear, plain and day, like, legally speaking, you're wrong. This was never yours. So we have all the right in the world to do what we're about to do to you, which is go to war. Y'all should never have stepped over here. We have the facts, and we have the Lord Yahweh, our God. So jumping down to verse 28. So in spite of all that, all the documents, all the clout, this is what the response of Ammon. Verse 28, howbeit the king of the children of Ammon hearkened not unto the words of Jephthah, which he sent him. Typical. Verse 29. Then the spirit of Yahweh came unto Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over to the children of Ammon. And Jephthah vowed a vow, this is important, unto Yahweh, and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon, when we go to war with them, we win, into my hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh from the doors of my house to meet me, when I return from this war, in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be yours, Yahweh's, and I will offer it for a burnt offering. Anything. So this guy definitely was not thinking, too particular when he made this vow unto the Most High. He said, anything that's going to come from my door, I'll give it as a sacrifice to you, Yahweh. Anything. Now imagine how endless the possibility of the word anything is. We're going to find out. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. Yep, and verse 33 just basically explains all the geography that it had to deal with it. So now, coming back to that vow, verse 34, and Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house again, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child, because he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass when he saw her that he rent his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto Yahweh and cannot go back. Again, remember, he said anything in his vow to the Most High God Yahweh, which if he didn't keep would be sin. And you know how treacherous or how crucial sin was treated back then, It could have been a death sentence for him, or a captivity for Gilead or something, just something negative if that vow was broken. So now he's like, I got to keep my word, even though my only daughter was the one that came out of that house to celebrate me. On top of all that, still, that's where our priorities had to become need to be put in place, you know, and whatever catch-22 that you may put yourself in with the Most High God, Yahweh. Our duty is to love the Father, Yahweh, Christ, even, you know, second to that, so we can get to him. We got to love him, them, more than we love our own people. We love our people, but we got to make sure that we love the Most High above all, which is why Jephthah keeps his vow. He keeps the vow that he made. Verse 36, and she said unto him, this is the crazy part. It's not just Jephthah that loved the Most High, but it was everybody righteous that loved the Most High like this too. So this is what happens when you have a community of one mind, of righteous people that love the Most High more than they love their own life. And she said unto him, my father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto Yahweh, do to me according to that which has proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as Yahweh have taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, let this thing be done for me, though. Let me alone for 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows, my friends, stuff like that. And he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass at the end of the 2 months, collection time, that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow, which she had vowed. And she knew no man, and it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. So, again, he had to make his daughter a human a burnt offering, a human sacrifice, something that the Most High never specifically asked for, excluding the example with Abraham and Isaac, where that was just more so a test of his faith, but that test did come ultimately to, are you willing to give your firstborn son, your kid, to me as an offering, as a sacrifice? Now, again, the other false deities, the other false gods, they do these things all the time. You know, that's part of their custom and their culture. You know, that's why it says in Leviticus 18 or 21, don't let your seed pass through the fires of Moloch, because again, these false gods, which again, the book of Exodus with the Egyptian priests, that was doing the miracles right along with Moses up to a point, and the reason why the snake of Moses ate the snake of the Egyptians, again, people do these things back then and in the world today ignorantly, because these demons do have some level and degree of power, and it's like instant results. Anybody ex Santa Muerte, from Salvador and Guatemala, Mexico, and beyond, can definitely attest and tell you and testify to you the strange things that happen when you happen to devote yourself to that candle, that idol of something invisible that's beyond what you can see, supernatural stuff. So again, bring this all back. The Most High, that's not something that he commanded us to do in his law, but as we can see with this instance, it's not anything that he rejected either, in particular because of just the vow. You know, if the Most High thought it was something abominable, he would have, he would have rejected it. You know, and this all even ties into Christ. Christ and his perfection, since he was a sacrifice too. He was made a man and a sacrifice for us as a nation of people to cleanse us. So again, it's not that the Most High is beneath or above the concept, but it's so extreme. It's something so extreme that it's something that hardly ever happens and that he would request, as you get to know how the Most High works. For one, he doesn't even like burnt offerings and sacrifices like that anyway. He likes when you do what he says. So that's that with, Jephthah's vow and the sacrifice that he made with that from his daughter. So just be careful, careful with, matter of fact, I got to bring this out in the book of Matthew, because it already tells you, Christ already gives you an instruction, possibly even to warn us from situations like this that happen, when dealing with the living God, Yahweh. This is what Christ said about vows. This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 33. Again, you've heard that it had been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord Yahweh thine oaths. But I say unto you, so Christ giving that, the fulfillment and everything, the final say. This is what he meant when he said, not jot nor one tittle shall be, thrown away, and such, till all be fulfilled. He's that fulfillment. And this is how he's saying, this is my instruction. This is how I'm fulfilling the laws and the prophets. He said, but I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, on me. What our people say, on my mama, on God, on me, on the homie, on my next paycheck, The Most High is saying, even on your own hairs, on yourself, on me, don't even do that. Neither shalt thou swear by thy own head, because thou cannot make one hair white or black. You don't have no control or power like that. He said, but instead, verse 37, but let your communication be yea, yea, and nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. That's another lesson in itself to break down, as far as how can anything other than yes and no be evil. Another time. So back to Book of Judges. Again, that was Matthew chapter 5. That was in Matthew chapter 5. Judges chapter 12. And the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and went northward and said unto Jephthah, wherefore passest thou over to fight against the children of Ammon, and did not call us to go with thee? We will burn thine house upon with thee with fire. So, man, this is an occurrence that happened, similar occurrence that happened previously in this book of Judges that dealt with Gideon. It dealt with Gideon. So when Gideon did all that he did in fighting against the heathens that was around, some of the other tribes that was nearby neighboring, they started to get mad at Gideon, saying like, why did you call us to the battle? So this is that same intemperance and anger that the tribe of Ephraim is telling Jephthah and Gilead, the locality of Gilead. And this time, though, no soft words was given to them, not like how Gideon did. Gideon was most smooth about it. He's like, man, what I did was nothing. The things that you guys have, the grape gathering, the work that you guys put in to feed us, that's more greater than what I did to go to war. That's what Gideon told. Israel, that was feeling the type of way. And they're like, oh, wow, you're right. Yeah, you're right. We do our work too. We put in work too. Appreciate that. So that was then. But this is this situation right now. Just a quick civil war. Man, it's ridiculous. Verse 2, and Jephthah said unto them, I and my people were at great strife with the children of Ammon. And when I called you, ye delivered me not out of their hands. And when I saw that ye delivered me not, I put my life in my hands and passed over against the children of Ammon, and the Lord delivered them into my hands. Wherefore then are ye come up unto me this day to fight against me? So you can see right now, again, Jephthah didn't have the best. He didn't have the best growing up experience. You know, he was rejected by his own people. So you know how that kind of makes you feel. That makes you a little bit bitter. Anybody that wants, you know, when you have bitterness that resides in your being for a long time, is you're not a people person. You know, you kind of you dislike, you kind of disgust people at times when you have that bitterness that resides in your heart. So this is part of the explanation of why Jephthah had more so hard or harsh words when responding to Ephraim, you know, the whole tribe of Ephraim. And, you know, which is, again, a different parallel than what Gideon said. Gideon, man, I mean, Gideon, I'm not going to say Gideon was like smooth and cunning with it, but I believe Gideon just had a better heart. You know, he had a better heart on him as a leader, and as dealing with giving credit, you know, to his brethren. Jephthah was a little more messed up, you know, and at times, us and repentance in his faith, we would be like Jephthah probably a lot more than Gideon, because of all the trauma and the bitterness that we still holding on to and learning to let go too. So sometimes we be saying the wrong things to people, you know, with our words and our language. I know I've been told a number of times about how I've approached people and talked to people and just, you know, things to me that I thought was basic. But I guess, you know, I can learn to be a little more wise in my words too, or use a little more discretion in my words too. But all that being said, I guess I'm saying that sometimes I'm a reflection of Jephthah, as how he said right here. But this is kind of like where that leads to. Verse 4. Then Jephthah gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim. And the men of Gilead smote Ephraim, because they said, Ye Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim, among the Ephraimites and among the Manassites. So again, Gilead is, when you read about the history of the locality, the region of Gilead, is really like, they're to the point to where like they're almost like their own, I'm not going to say that, they're almost like their own tribe in a sense. You know, it's a mix between the tribes. It's a togetherness tribe between, like, again, Manasseh and Ephraim and a few others. But Gilead has a lot of rich history from Judges and forward in the rest of the history of the Bible. And among the Manassites, and the Gileadites took the passage of Jordan before the Ephraimites, and it was so that when these Ephraimites which were escaped said, Let me go over, that the men of Gilead said unto them, Art thou an Ephraimite? And if they said, Nay, they would test them more, basically. Verse 6, Then they said unto him, Say now Shibboleth. And he said, Sibboleth. So read this correctly on your own. I'm going to try to enunciate it the best I can. So again, Gilead is now telling these Ephraimites, okay, look, since we can't tell, you know, what you guys are, because again, Gilead had both Ephraim and Manasseh in there. So I'm assuming that Gilead in power this time with Jephthah was more so leaning towards being Manasseh. But this is how they was testing them to be like, to discern what tribe are you from, even though we all living in the city, was how they said a particular word, which was Sibboleth. And I'm going to explain that right now too. Let me read from verse 5 again. And the Gileadites took the passages of Jordan, blocked them off, before the Ephraimites. And it was so that when the Ephraimites which were escaped said, Let me go over. Now you can check in TSA, TSA at the airport. Let me go over. That the men of Gilead said unto them, let me check your bag. Art thou an Ephraimite? If he said nay, then they said unto him, Say now Shibboleth. And these Ephraimites, and he said, Sibboleth, for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan. And there fell that time in Ephraim 40 and 2,000. Who knows how many people did not make that final flight and that final check-in, at that airport. And I speak parabolically. But that was what they did because, again, this lets you know, even within Israel, speaking the same Hebrew language, we had different dialects. No different than people that speak English. We'll talk about even the tribes, as what they call us. Black people that speak English in LA is different than black people that speak English in New York or in Louisiana, stuff like that. Each region, depending on the distance, it kind of has its own culture and its twang to it. And that's actually a real beautiful thing, just within the confines of our people at home. Like, man, all this, not only the diversity within 12 tribes of Israel, but man, we all, got our own flavor. We all got our own way of how we talk and do things like that, our different roles that we play out, the different parts of whole of the body. Man, that's a real beautiful thing, to look at. But in this instance, it was the death of 40 and 2,000. Damn, it was the death of 42,000 to have that diversity just in your dialect, in the same language that you speak. Nuts. Verse 7. And Jephthah judged Israel 6 years, then died the Gileadite and was buried in one of the cities of Gilead. And after him another judge, Ibzan of Bethlehem, judged Israel. And he had 30 sons and $30, which he sent abroad, and took $30 from abroad for his sons. And he judged Israel 7 years. Then died Ibzan and was buried in Bethlehem. So we got like 3 more judges. Not too much is explained on their history. Israel was just compliant, definitely, with these next 3 judges. I'm going to just go through the names. Ibzan, verse 8. Elon, like Elon Musk, from Zebulun, verse 11. After him, Abdon, the son of Hillel, a Pirathonite. That's verse 13. He was from the land of Ephraim. So those 3 judges came after Jephthah. And now chapter 13. Chapter 13, this is where we get into, I'm just going to call it as it is, this is where we get into Samson. So for the sake of time and convenience, because this is a lesson, we don't got to read every single word for word. I want to summarize and speed through, and hopefully that speeding is enough understanding for y'all. So the next judge that's kind of come up is Samson. Samson is very well known for people that had Christianity drilled into them as a kid, bootleg Christians as well too, and Israelites today of the faith that actually study their Bible. This is where the story of Samson comes through at this point in time. So Samson has a father. His name is Manoah. You can read that in verse 8, chapter 13, verse 8. His father's name is Manoah, and they are Danites of the tribe of Dan. So Manoah is instructed by an angel of the Most High, unawares, that the son that you're going to have soon, he needs to be a Nazarite, which means that he can't eat grapes and he cannot cut the locks of his hair, his dreadlocks, or not his dreadlocks. We don't really do that too much. His just the locks, the nice ones, the nice braids, not the nasty, ugly looking ones that are unclean. So that's his instruction as far as being a Nazarite by the angel of the Most High. And this is verse 3, chapter 13, verse 3. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son, a particular and specific son. Again, jumping down, you guys can, I would say, read chapter 13 on your own, because it just is one of those chapters that shows you, it gives you a visual picture of the angels, not just, just men, that roam the earth that give messages from the Most High, but literally like the angels of the Most High, that Ezekiel seen come down from chariots, and they're different There are different appearances. This is one of those examples for us to believe that, yes, there are higher powers under the Most High's power, that uh, are amongst us, observing us, taking notes, and appearing to us sometimes as messengers and instructions by God. These things are still happening all throughout the earth in the midst of Israel. So this is just one of those things that confirms you, I guess, to say angels are real. The Most High has heavenly servants as well as us as the earthly servants. They're real. And they make themselves, the way they make themselves known to be as such is terrifying, generally speaking. Very terrifying. It's supernatural. That's the best way I can explain it. It's supernatural in a righteous sense. Oftentimes we're influenced by in this media in the world, supernatural in the unrighteous sense. No, there's a righteous supernatural too, which is much stronger and much better. But again, not to deny the negative aspect, the darkness of supernatural too. So we're going to jump to matter of fact, we're going to read verse 24 before chapter 14. And the woman bare a son and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and Yahweh blessed him. And the spirit of Yahweh began to move him at times in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. So now we have a region within Dan. Chapter 14. So Samson is a grown-up at this point. And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. The Philistines was the new problem that we was dealing with now, the Philistine people, a part of the Hamitic tribes. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, go get her for me to wife. And then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said to his father, Go get her for me. Go get her, for she pleaseth me well. So again, culturally and traditionally, our people, we married within the Shemitic family. Not beyond that, the Abrahamic family, let alone within Israel. Back then, when it was just Abraham and his brother Lot, we had dealings with, his brother Lot, which would be like, in the Abrahamic perspective, cousins, when it came down to Isaac and Jacob, we still was marrying another Shemitic people that was, again, descendant of the bloodline of Terah or Abraham, and his brothers, Lot and stuff like that. Laban, Laban wasn't the son of Lot, but Laban was a distant cousin, Shemitic, of relation to Abraham. So again, we married within, our respective lineage. To go outside of that and deal with the Canaanites, which again, all the way stemming back from Noah and his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, it was just weird, it was just weird, to do that, especially when you have Deuteronomy and the Most High is already saying, look, the daughters of these nations and stuff like that, and their sons, do not go into their marriages, because it's gonna be a problem. They're gonna be a snare to you in your heart, and you're gonna start, taking on their ways and their customs. Your kids are gonna start taking on their ways and their customs, because again, they're going to be easily influenced, and eventually they might even mess up so much as to go worship other gods. So the Most High is like, just to prevent any of that, don't deal with them like that. But Samson is compelled to go deal with this Philistine woman like that. We'll understand why, though. Verse 4 in chapter 14. But his father and his mother knew not that it was the Lord, Yahweh, that he had sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Again, the whole point. But again, that attraction initially came within Samson by the Most High Yahweh to see as an opportunity to go against the Philistines. they say that to talk about this, they say that, you know, in modern days, there's this woman named I was watching this video. I'm gonna tell you right now. Her name is Frances something. She was a lecturer from the 1970s. Somebody that I met, a homie that I met at my job, was telling me about her, and it's going to lead into what I want to talk about. Her name is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and she has a lecture that she did in 1973. It was called "The Relationship Between Black Men and White Women." Obviously, you know what that's about. Since the 70s, even through today, our people in our fallen state have had a insatiable desire for, as far as black men, you know, black Israelites, you know, so-called Southern Kingdom Jews, had an insatiable desire for you know, white women, and white men the same for black women. And basically, in her lecture, she's explaining that these relationships, when viewed from the white supremacist, you know, mainframe, which they are supremacists at this point in time right now as a people over us, for them to have relationships with us or non-peoples of color, stuff like that, that in itself is an act of war. You know, that's what she was explaining in her lecture. And it makes sense, you know, it makes sense. For one, you know, to populate or propagate your seed in an attempt to make more of your seed than another nation's seed, that's a form of power, you know, the greater odds or the greater amount beating the lesser odds. That's a form of war and sustaining their system. And then it's crazy too, even on the flip side, the psychologies that she breaks down too, as far as why black men want white women. It's like a victimization type model, to where it's like we get social status when we marry their women so that we can get social status within the white supremacist, you know, pyramid scheme. That's like what she was explaining, like, is an unconscious reason why our people do stuff like that. But again, all that could be solved if we stay amongst ourselves in a particular covenant by Yahweh. Then we don't need their social status, you know, to do better in life, you know, to not live in poverty, not to live with cockroaches in your refrigerator, not to live in fear of the gun of the police. No, we're gonna eventually separate from that, and we're gonna be above that in due time and due season. So that's what's gonna heal the brokenness in our people, you know, subconsciously. And again, I'm just talking about that lecture. And again, I was initially talking about how it's an act of war. So now the Most High is using marriages between two separate nations, Samson and this Philistine woman. It says right here in the Bible, verse 4, but his father and his mother knew not that it was of Yahweh, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. So again, this was an act of war. This marriage that was desired by Samson was an act of war from the Most High. And we all know from the book of Exodus, right after the Red Sea, the Most High calls himself, you know, or in a song written by Moses and Miriam, the Most High says he's a man of war in many ways, many facets. No different than, you know, Frances in her psychology, you know, an Israelite woman too, figured out about white people. We see the same thing playing out right here in Judges. Back into the story. Hopefully you guys understood that and enjoyed that little off segment rant. Judges 14:5. Then went Samson down and his father and mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent the lion as he would have rent a kid, like a goat or a ram, actually. And he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done. So his mom and dad did not know that he had super strength like that to destroy was it a young lion that we read? Yes, a young lion, a young lion that Samson basically ripped apart with his bare hands, you know, or strangled at the very least, destroyed. And he told not his mother or his father. Verse 7, and he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. So Samson gets the Philistine woman. again, as an occasion for the Most High to free them, which is going to be through an act of war. Verse 8, and after a time he returned to take her. He turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, probably some time after, a couple weeks later. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told them not that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. I'm gonna just leave that as it is. That was clearly, for one, an uncleanness. Samson was definitely unclean in that moment, and even making his family and his parents unclean, because again, this is food that's touching roadkill, which I'm sure has blood residue and such like that with these bees in his body. It's a dead animal that you're eating from. That's not clean. That's unclean. So that's one of the things that kind of like leads to Samson's downfall, in a sense, as far as what's being set up. So taking notes of these things. Verse 12. Actually, no, verse 10. So this is basically the marriage. I'm going to explain it to you guys rather than read the verses. So Samson has his Philistine wife, and they invite some people over. Some of the people happen to be actually Philistines themselves, of the 30 companions. So Samson's, having a whole banquet, his family thrown for him. And during that banquet, he basically, one of the games that he says is, I'm going to make a riddle for you guys. If you guys can figure out this riddle, I'm going to give you all of this substance. But if you guys don't figure out this riddle, you guys got to go and give me substance, of the same amount. And again, these are Philistines that he's talking to, that he's invited over, the other nations. I'm going to read from verse 13. But if you cannot declare it to me, talking about the riddle, then shall you give me 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments. And they said unto him, put forth the riddle that we may hear it. So now the riddle is, which is really not a riddle at all. The riddle is basically him in a discreet way saying, what did I eat from? What did I just do, with the lion and the bees with the honey? And this is how he frames it. He said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat. That would be a lion, because a lion eats meat, and yet it's bringing forth meat. And out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And how could you? Because how often does a man strangle a lion and bees come in and leave honey in it? It's not a common thing. So it wasn't supposed to be answered, basically, and yet the foolheadedness, foolhardiness, probably because they were all drunk, of these Philistines was like, we're going to figure out. But for 3 days, they could not figure it out. And they had a week. And they was not trying to pay up, trust. Verse 15, and it came to pass on the 7th day, they said unto Samson's wife, look, entice your husband that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that what we have? Is it not so? So man, his supposedly associates are threatening his Samson's own wife, saying like, hey, if you don't tell this riddle, we're not trying to pay these things up, but we'll burn your house down if you don't tell us this. Just vicious time to live in, for sure. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, thou dost but hate me and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it to me. And he said unto her, behold, I have not told it my father or my mother, and shall I tell it you? He's like, look, I haven't told my own people either, my mom and dad. Nobody knows this. I'm the only one. But his wife's like, she's feigning that womanly charm, to let her people, get back to her people. So she's like, she's putting on the front, she's crying. She's not really crying. She's just scared of what could happen to her by her people. Man, because they said they were going to burn her and her father's house. That's nuts. And she wept before him the 7 days. So she bugged him, wept him, was not, man, there's a scripture in Proverbs that says, I'd rather dwell in, the wilderness with a dragon or on the housetop with a dragon than with a bothersome woman. So this woman was definitely bothering him for 7 days. Like, y'all, some of y'all already know. Some of y'all already know this. All praise to the Most High that, at least for the time being, probably for then, I'm not experiencing that. Single man right here. Verse 16, in the midst of it. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told my father and my mother, and shall I told it to thee? And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to her people, to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him, on the 7th day, the very last day that they had to solve the riddle, they said, we got it. Here's what we're going to tell you. And they repeat the riddle. What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if you had not plowed with my heifer, if you didn't deal with my wife, I know you talked to my wife. Like, I know you talked to her because I'm the only one that told her. None of y'all should have figured this riddle out. It wasn't a riddle. He said, if y'all didn't plow with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. And the spirit of Yahweh, man, this is how the Most High let it go down. The spirit of Yahweh came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them, 30 Philistines, just in a different city, 30 men of them, and took their spoil and gave changes of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. So he was still a man of his word. He didn't tell them, you can't talk to my wife about it. It just so happens to be that he told his wife out of their pestering, and he found basically that out. And he's like, God damn, should have been more particular. But it was, again, in the will of the Most High, because he still killed like 30 Philistines. And they were probably rich Philistines too, because if these men was tripping on not getting these garments in a week's time and willing to burn this woman and her father's house, it must have been worth a lot of money. And if it's worth a lot of money, I'm pretty sure the 30 people that Samson killed to get them from, they were probably noble people. And if they were noble people, they were probably leaders of the Philistines. You know what they say in war, if you cut off the head, the body will scramble. I believe it's very safe to assume that, especially if that's the way the Most High, as a man of war, is going about it. I'm very confident, and that's how it had to be. So, bam, a big war chunk taken out of the Philistine people with that action alone. Verse 19. No. The rest of verse 19. And slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled. So this man was still mad. So mad, and he went up to his father's house. He was so mad that he left that city with his wife in there, and he went back home to his parents. Like, she didn't come with him, obviously, because he was just as mad at her for telling them that, and, mad with the people there too. So he's like, I'm going back to my people. I'm going back to my parents' house. Peace. You can stay here. So it had been a time. So she's just left to her own devices, like they say in 1 Corinthians, if a man and woman are not pleased to dwell together for that time being, but don't want to get, or rather can't get divorced, put away your wife until later on you become reconciled. That's what we have here. Samson basically put away his wife in expectation that I'll come back to you one day and, we can rekindle. But for the time being right now, you have gravely committed an iniquity in front of me by telling them this riddle. I'm mad. Peace. Don't come with me. So, man, because that was the case, verse 20, but Samson's wife, because he left, was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Now, even more tripping. For one, this companion or this friend of Samson, a brother, as a sense, was a Philistine. So this is supposed to be basically like, when the Bible uses companion and friend like that, that's supposed to indicate, a friend of the same soul or a best friend. But now, the drama, his wife, a Philistine, is now given to his best friend of the Philistines. Wild, right? That's a whole telenovela, the Bold and the Restless. If some of y'all remember that. Chapter 15, Verse 1. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. So Samson is doing like the whole baby come back, or coming, with gifts, with gifts. He comes with a gift, a kid, not a box of chocolates and flowers, but something real, an actual baby ram that you can eat up and season and enjoy as a feast. He comes with that to say like, hey baby, da 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 da. But it says this, with a kid, and he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to let him to go in. He's like, oh, hold up there, partner. Hold on. You can't have her. And he's like, what do you mean? This is my wife. Like this, I'm here. I'm giving you, this offering. I just want to come into her. And he's like, well, I did something. Verse 2, and his father said, I verily thought that thou had utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. So the dad's like, according to Hebrew custom and some of the way that our people operate today, he's like, man, I thought you hated her. I just remarried her. She's with your best friend, actually. I can't, at this point, he's enjoying her. I thought you hated her. I did not know you was going to come back like the way you came back right now. Sorry, she's remarried. And again, this goes again to the wisdom, or at least the way the Most High wanted us as a people to go. He's like, I don't care how much you say that you hate, your partner, your spouse, your husband or wife. Moses already laid it out. Unless it be for adultery or fornication, which is from exposing yourself, nakedly, to another person, to the many other types that it may be. Moses said, and Christ said too, unless it be for those things, you cannot divorce your wife. Like, that's still your wife forever. If she does anything outside of that, that's on her bad. If you decide to take another wife and just completely reject her and don't take her on and take care of her, that's your bad. That's your male form of adultery. So that's how our culture was basically ran. So again, Samson and his Israelite minds are coming like, I'm over it. I'm over her telling, the riddle. I'm going to go back to her. But again, she got remarried through the Philistine custom of relying upon, I guess, that emotion. So verse 3, this is what Samson says now. And Samson said concerning them and that situation with the remarrying, he said, this is what he said. Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. So he knew himself. He's like, dang, y'all have sinned. Y'all made my wife commit adultery. I'm way more blameless, or saying now I'm much more righteous than you guys. I have the upper hand. The Most High is going to actually fight for me now because I've been wronged against. I've been sinned against by y'all doing that to the wife that I had. Again, that's adultery. And the Most High hates adultery. So now Samson's confident that the Spirit of the Lord is going to help him accomplish what he's about to do right now. And verse 4, and Samson went and caught 300 foxes and took firebrands and turned tail to tail and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. So he basically took these foxes, paired them up, tied them together, set them on fire, and let them go run in the fields of the Philistines to destroy their crops. Modern day example of that, minus the foxes, is in military techniques, is called scorched earth. Basically, and this is like something they was doing in Europe and with Russia during World War II. The scorched earth policy was basically, look, if we kill their food resources, we kill their army. No different than what you see right here, right now. When Samson is destroying their resources, their fields, so that people become weak. If you're weak, you can't be a very good warrior, ultimately. Verse 5 in chapter 15. And when he had set the brands on fire to the foxes, he let them go in the standing corn of the Philistines. Because again, the Philistines was occupying Israel. It wasn't their home. They were occupying us. In the corn of the Philistines, and burnt both the shocks and also the standing corn, and the vineyards and olives. So all the food, all the resources. Then the Philistines said, "Who's done this?" And they answered, "Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnathite," which is, he's a son-in-law. The Timnathite is a Philistine. The woman he married, that family. His son-in-law, he did it, that Israelite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion, his best friend. And the Philistines came up and burned her. Dang, and the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. So she still got put to death, and the father, including his house. So they just, man, Philistines is getting done up. Philistines is doing each other up because they're not making sound judgment. They just going based off of their first instincts and their first feelings, which is again why the Most High said, "Y'all are going to be a wise and understanding people if you keep my laws and its statutes. You won't be doing, in my eyes, you won't be doing some dumb civil war stuff like this. Because if they were wise and smart, they might have been able to put two and two together and shit like that. But this is what they do to each other." And Samson said unto them, "Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease." And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. So to add more shame to the sense, the very people that thought that they was doing right by killing Samson's father-in-law and Samson's wife, even though she was already remarried, the same Philistines that did that, Samson's like, "Oh, even though you thought you was doing the right thing with that, hell nah, you still wrong. That was people who I liked." and Samson kills them. So you just got a whole multifaceted war slaughter of these Philistines going on between the civil disagreements with themselves, Samson doing a scorched earth policy, and then Samson himself just killing them. So the Philistine is just getting done up in just a whole bunch of different circumstances. I'm not sure if y'all ever seen that movie. It's called Crash. It's like from the 2000s, like the mid 2000s, something like that. But that's a good that's a really good movie. But it reminds me of this, just like the day in the life of this particular point in time right here, this region and setting, but like everybody's perspective to it. The Philistines is just getting done up in so many different ways and reasons of perspectives, and it's nuts. The story of it is just nuts, but it's the will of the Most High, and that's how he's going down. It's amazing. Fearful God that we serve, for sure. Verse 9. Oh, let me actually explain this too. So after Samson does this, he's actually hiding out on top of a rock. So basically, I'm pretty sure like a really high plateau somewhere. He's just there alone. He climbed up there. He's just like, "I'm going to just chill out and hide here." So this is what happens now. Verse 9. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah. So they left Dan, and now they're in the tribe of Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, "Why are you come up against us?" And they answered, "To bind Samson, that Danite, are we come up, to do him as he had done to us." So Judah's like, okay, one guy, Dan? All right, let's go see what this is. So Judah's like, 3,000, Judah sends 3,000 men of the tribe of Judah, went to the top of the rock of Etam, that plateau where he was at, and said unto Samson, "Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us?" Like, bro, like what are you doing? We need to just serve out our sentence. You are out here causing havoc, being a anti-hero type deal, just wrecking havoc all on your own. Like, you need to just be quiet, bro. That's what Judah's telling Samson. "Knowest not thou that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is it that thou hast done unto us?" And he said unto him, "As they did unto me, so have I done unto them." And so Judah's like, "What? Why are we getting all these different stories? Y'all putting, fingers upon fingers." And they said unto him, "Look, we're here to come down here to bind you up, that we're going to deliver you into the hands of the Philistines." And Samson said unto them, "Swear unto me that you will not fall upon me yourselves." So he's like, "That's cool. Just make sure y'all don't kill me. You can give me to them, but you, my brethren, y'all better not put a hand on me. I'm your peoples." despite your coonery right now of wanting to appease these Philistines because they came up in your tribe, all the way from Dan. Verse 13, and they spake unto him, saying, No, but we're just going to bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords and brought him up from the rock. And when he came to Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him. And the spirit of Yahweh came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire. And his bands loosed from off his hands. So basically, every time the Spirit of the Lord comes upon Samson, he gets these supernatural, super strength abilities. You know, a real superhero, Superman, Goku, type guy that is suddenly breaks. Imagine you could just snap handcuffs. You could snap some metal handcuffs that the cops just locked you up. That's what he's doing right now. He just and now he begins killing the host of these Philistines in their respective territory. And not only just kill him, but he damn near kills him with his bare hands, save having a jawbone of a donkey. That's what he's doing right now. I'm going to read it to you guys too. So he loosed the bands, and bam, verse 15, he found a new jawbone of an ass and put forth his hand and took it and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with this jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men, just with the jawbone and the ass. I'm pretty sure maybe he had that on some Mega Man tip, in his hand, connected to his fist and stuff like that, punching like that. More opposed to just like a coconut, but he kills him with that regardless, and he's like, dang, I did that, feeling it, so that I did that, 1,000 men by my own, save this bone. And the Most High begins to show him some miracles with that too. And Samson, verse 17, and it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, chuck that, and called that place Ramath Lehi. And he was sore athirst. So he was thirsty after this fight, and called on Yahweh and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of your servant. And now I die for thirst and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised. He's like, oh man, don't let me die here. Just, give me some water. I'm tired as heck, Yahweh. Just, give me something to parch my thirst. But God, miracle, but God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came forth water thereout. So again, complete miracle. Nothing that you can scientifically explain for this. A jawbone disconnected from its animal that it used to be should not, in all respects of normalcy, have water pour out of it. And yet, that's exactly what we see here, like a portable water fountain from a jawbone. That's what happens to feed his thirst. And there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name therefore of that place En Hakkore, which is in Lehi today. And fun tidbit, the word in Hebrew, anytime you read the word in some other word, it means fountain or spring, dealing with liquids and flowing water, and then whatever else is associated. That's just, some Hebrew word tidbits for y'all. So that's what happens with that. As we were told, I'm only supposed to read to chapter 15. That's the end of chapter 15, but I will tell you how the story ends regardless without reading it. So Samson is he recovers from that, but Samson does get captured by the rest of the Philistines, and they put out his eyes. So the Philistines are celebrating their triumph over Samson. They're worshiping at the house of their god Dagon, another false god, fallen deity. And in the midst of that party, the royals and the nobles, the heads of society, their summer house, their party house, Samson, gets the spirit of the Lord upon him one more time that he asks, and he's like, look, since they put me on these 2 pillars of their house, Yahweh, just give me strength real quick, and even if I got to die in my iniquity with them, let it so be. And the Most High gives him that strength and that power, and he, with his strength, pushes down the pillars, the marble, whatever pillars of the house he was in, letting the whole house crush and unfold on itself, thus killing a majority of the leadership within the Philistines and himself, as a sacrifice that, he himself had to experience, but for the nation. And that's, how Samson's story ends as well in the book of Judges. So, all that being said, y'all, this has been another brief world history segment with True Nation dealing with the book of Judges. We still have about, we still have about 5 or 8 more chapters to go through. It goes to 21. So I'm pretty sure next time and the following Wednesday, we may go through the rest of this book and be right back on the next one to give us our, our fun and healthy commentary on the history of our people and how we still living like them today, and the hopes of, through Christ, and his fulfillment, a better way from it. So with that, you guys, I want to say praise the Most High God in his Son's name, Yahweh Shai, and good night.